The show starts with Kokoro reaching the top of the hill when she finds Yuki lying unconscious on the ground, and he is then carried away by wolves. Kokoro runs after them and saves Yuki before waking him up and telling him that she is sent by Lady Ameth to be his guide and protector. Moments later, the wolves come back, and Kokoro tells Yuki that they can be the perfect first opponents for Yuki to regain his strength. However, Yuki loses against them and they drag him away until he is saved by Kokoro again. The scene shifts to Pecorine washing herself in the woods when she suddenly hears loud screams from a distance. She runs towards the noise to help and finds two men, one of them about to faint. His friend tells Pecorine that his friend's disease has gotten worse and asks her to grab the sack under a nearby tree as his medicines are in it, but as she comes back with the medicine, she realizes that they have stolen her sword. Meanwhile, Kokoro takes Yuki to Landosol and tells him that it is the largest nation in the continent of Estria and all kinds of creatures live here. Yuki then smells sweets and goes to a shop where La Barista makes them some crepe. The two later eat the crepes and Kokoro then takes him with her to find lodging for them to stay, but she doesn't have enough money and the two spend the night camping. Yuki wants to work and earn money and Kokoro takes him to the Guild Association, where Karin assigns them a collection quest as they are beginners. They are told to bring back some mushrooms that grow in the Gato ruins. Pecorine also reaches Landosol where she looks for the men who stole her sword, while Kokoro and Yuki find some mushrooms in the forest. Kokoro finds a strange talking mushroom and names it Pachiko. Yuki runs into a starved Pecorine and they give her some food. Suddenly, large mushrooms come out of the woods and attack them. Yuki's true power shows while fighting and proves that he is Princess Knight, and his power flows to Kokoro and Pecorine as well. They all fight the mushrooms and destroy them, and Pachiko is eaten by Pecorine. Kokoro goes to wake Yuki up for breakfast but instead finds him training outside. They later have some food and Kokoro is grateful that they were compensated nicely for the quest they completed. The scene changes to Pecorine waking up in a horse stable. She then freshens herself up and decides to look for her sword that her father and mother gave her, but her stomach starts growling out of hunger. Meanwhile, the thieves who stole her sword decide to sell it. Kokoro and Yuki are later looking for a job when they see a crowd gathered in the town and decide to see what has happened, only to find Pecorine having an eating contest. She then spots the thieves in the crowd and runs after them, telling Akaki to take his medicine. Kokoro and Yuki also follow her. Suddenly, a monster appears, and Pecorine decides to take it down. She defeats the monster and they find a girl named Carol lying on the ground, unconscious. Kokoro then wakes her up and Pecorine tries to feed her some food, but she backs off, saying that it is too hot and leaves. She is angry because her self-induced trap had backfired on her and she could not get Pecorine's sword. She then spots the men with the sword. Suddenly, a fierce dragon swoops down and carries the two men away. She then goes to Kokoro and her friends and tells them that she is willing to help them find the two men, and that they were taken away by a dragon. Kokoro then tells Pecorine about the dragon she learned about at the Guild Association that has been around Landosol for a long time now and is attracted to riches. And Carol realizes that it must have taken them away because of the sword they were carrying. The group then sets off to find the two men. They find the men trapped by the dragon in the mountains. They peek at it from behind the rocks, and Pecorine spots her sword. Carol then leaves to wait at a safe spot while Pecorine, Yuki, and Kokoro make a plan to save the two men and also retrieve Pecorine's sword. While Yuki tries to distract the dragon so that Pecorine can get the sword from its mouth, Carol uses her Princess Knight power to control the dragon and crush Pecorine. But she manages to defeat the dragon and later saves Carol from the dragon as well, which moves her heart. The group then returns to Landosol and have dinner together. Pecorine then suggests that they start a gourmet guild together and offers Carol to join too, but she declines and leaves. Carol observes Pecorine in order to find what her weakness is and stalks her. The scene changes to Kokoro asking Karin to give her a guild application, and Karin gives her a form to fill. Meanwhile, Yuki is sitting on a fountain when he sees a girl suddenly fall down while running. He then gives her some food, thinking that she might be hungry. Kokoro and Yuki then spot Carol spying on Pecorine while she is eating inside a restaurant, offering her to join them. She refuses first, but is forced to join them because of hunger. They all then have lunch and Pecorine is very kind to Carol, which annoys her even more. Pecorine then orders food that is shaped like bugs from the restaurant's secret menu, and Carol is disgusted by its sight, but after tasting it she finds it tasty. Later, Kokoro gives Pecorine the guild application, asking Pecorine and Carol to join her and Yuki, but Carol refuses, saying that she has no interest in guilds. Later that night, Kokoro fills the guild application while Yuki is sleeping, and feels sad that Carol has left. Pecorine tells Kokoro the next morning that she has run out of money and will be working part-time at the restaurant they had food the day before. The scene then changes to Pecorine serving customers at the restaurant when three girls enter the place, and she takes them to a table. The three little girls are sisters named Mimi, Misogi, and Kyoyuka, and are a part of an unregistered guild called Little Lyrical. While Pecorine is busy serving them, Carol tries to spy on her again. She then walks inside and sees Pecorine feeding the girls with some bug food and tries to stop her. Suddenly, a huge, monstrous man named Burai enters the restaurant and makes fun of the restaurant until Pecorine cooks him a meal. To help Pecorine, Carol puts a drop of a magical fruit in the food, and the man starts to eat it without control. He tries to deny that the food is good but fails and finds it amazing. However, he throws a plate on the floor, threatening to shut the restaurant down, but ends up getting beaten by Pecorine. Later, Carol tells Kokoro that she is ready to join the guild. Their guild application gets approved and the group starts a gourmet guild together. Karin takes the group to the guild house they are given, but it is in a bad condition. However, the group then starts to clean the place. While moving the furniture out, Pecorine realizes that there is no table for them to eat and freaks out. She decides to make one herself, as the primary goal of the guild is that they enjoy meals together. Kokoro later leaves to buy some important things, while Carol takes care of the cleaning. While she is shopping for plates, a young girl named Saren comes to her, offering her a deal for the plates. She tells her that she is the manager of Serendia Orphanage. Saren then tells her maid Suzume to help Kokoro carry her things. Later, Kokoro and Suzume get lost in the woods and Suzume panics. Later, while looking for Suzume's donkey, they find Rima, who tells them that she works at a farm called Elizabeth Park. She then offers to help the girls pull their cart. When Yuki is helping Carol clean the windows, Carol sees a bug and freaks out, causing Yuki to fall on the ground and faint. He sees Ameth while he is unconscious, who guides him about the group of companions he has found and tells him to be careful. He then wakes up and finds Carol sitting by his side. Pecorine then calls them outside to show them the table she has made and they carry it inside the house. But it is too big and does not get through the door. However, Yuki then helps her fix the size. Meanwhile, Kokoro and Suzume are stopped by bandits while they are walking through the forest, who try to capture Rima and call her a donkey, but she is infuriated and beats them up. Feeling hungry afterwards, she eats an apple and turns into a human girl. Later, Kokoro returns home and the group takes her inside the house and she is happy to see it all cleaned up and organized. Pecorine then cooks some beef stew and they later have their first dinner in their guild house, celebrating their move. Yuki falls ill with fever and Kokoro treats him with cold compresses while Pecorine makes some rice porridge for him, which makes Carol annoyed and she says that the girls are spoiling him too much. Kokoro prepares a medicine for him that she used to make in her hometown, and puts bugs in it, while Pecorine adds some bugs in the porridge as well, freaking Carol out, who decides to take Yuki to a real hospital. They carry Yuki to the hospital in Landosol, saying that they have an emergency patient. They meet Nanaka there, who takes Yuki and the girls to the examination room where he is examined by Mitsuki. She notices something on Yuki's body and orders Nanaka to prepare for the operation. Yuki is taken into the operating room while the girls wait outside, not knowing what is about to happen. Suddenly, Burai comes running down the hallways, looking much skinnier than before. He tells the girls that this hospital is a prison and escapes while Mitsuki and Nanaka are busy with Yuki, but is captured by Ariko, who carries him back to his bed. Nanaka later tells the girls to take a leave for the day and so they return home. Ariko is looking for Yuki, thinking that he is her soulmate as he gave her food when she was starving. When she returns to the hospital, she finds Yuki laying inside one of the rooms. The scene shifts to Pecorine making breakfast for Carol and Kokoro, suggesting making something for Yuki as well. Meanwhile, Ariko is feeding Yuki, telling him that the secret ingredient she put in the food is her love. On the other hand, Pecorine and the other two girls are rushing towards the hospital and see a crowd outside the building. The people accuse the girls for stealing from them. Ariko suddenly jumps out of the window and the three girls use their magic to get rid of the angry crowd. Meanwhile, Pecorine and the girls realize that the place is bad news and they have to save Yuki. They sneak into the house and find Ariko inside Yuki's room, handing him a weird engagement ring. She attempts to marry him forcefully when Kokoro asks for Ameth's blessing. Pecorine and Carol manage to set Yuki free. As they carry him away, they are on the verge of getting caught by Mitsuki and Ariko, but Carol acts like her stomach hurts and buys Pecorine time to escape with Yuki. Yuki is then taken to a real doctor who says that he'll be fine after a few days of rest. Carol returns home after some time and Pecorine wakes them all up the next morning for breakfast. At the table, Pecorine suggests to her friends that they should now start their guild. She then shows them a poster for a quest she saw at the bulletin board. The job is for people who can harvest raw spices in Tarum village and the workers will be compensated with daily pay and a full set of spices. Pecorine finds it interesting and beneficial, but Carol does not want to do any physical work. After Pecorine starts sobbing about how she wanted all of them to do the first quest together, Carol agrees. The group then leaves for Tarum village. The scene changes to a man walking through the forest when he feels something weird. Dark shadows are hiding behind the trees, watching him pass by. Suddenly a figure stops his way, and it looks exactly like himself and says the exact same thing he says, scaring the man. Kokoro and Yuki then gather wood to light fire while Carol tries to catch some fish so her friends don't force her to eat a meal made of bugs. But there are no fish in the nearby pond. Later, Pecorine returns with a bird she just captured to cook. She then cooks the bird while Kokoro prepares soup. The group later eats the delicious food before going to sleep near. Kokoro watches her friends sleeping, thinking how wonderful they are. The next day, the girls wake up and are freshening up when they see a monster take Yuki away in his mouth. Yuki later wakes up in the middle of the forest when a piece of log starts to talk to him. He begins to check the log out and shakes it when a girl comes out from behind the trees and tells him to be gentle. She introduces herself as AI and tells him that she's not crazy but she talks to dolls and she made this log to practice having a friend. She later assumes that Yuki is also looking for a friend and tells him to be a part of his team. Suddenly, Pecorine and the girls find Yuki and ask him who the girl is. He tells them that she saved his life. They thank AI and take her with them to Tarum village where they are welcomed by Misato. They tell her about the quest and introduce themselves as the Gourmet Guild. Misato tells them she is grateful for their help, informing them that people from Elizabeth Park are also arriving soon. Meanwhile, Rima, Rin, Shiori, and Maharu are on their way to the village when they get tired and decide to rest for a while. Suddenly, the same shadows that look like each of them approach them. While exploring the village, Pecorine and her friends see Hatsune sleeping while floating in the air. She then hits a bell tower and falls to the ground, still fast asleep. She is then woken up by Kokoro. Meanwhile, Rima and her friends are fighting the dark figures. Suddenly, Christina appears out of nowhere and destroys the clones. However, Shiori is left behind and is taken away by her clone. The group begins the harvest at Tarum village. They explore the spice fields and find them pleasing. Misato and Hatsune then come to see them, greeting them and asking them if they have recovered from their long journey. Suddenly, the village people call out and Misato goes to see what has happened, only to find Rima and two girls terribly injured. Maharu then tells them that they were attacked by some things that looked like them on the way until a swordswoman showed up. Hatsune asks about her sister Shiori, and they tell her that they lost sight of her during the attack. Kokoro then uses her magic to heal Rima's injuries. The villagers then talk about the rumors they have heard about people trying to reach Tarum village getting attacked on the way. Hatsune later wants to go to save Shiori, but Misato stops her, telling her that she cannot do it alone. Rima then decides to go with her too, followed by Yuki and the rest, but Carol walks away. The scene shifts to Kaiser Insight sitting on the throne of Landosol Castle when the man captured by the shadow appears in front of her and gets absorbed in her body. Pecorine, Kokoro and Yuki leave with Rima and Hatsune to find Shiori when she suddenly senses something strange in the forest and flies above to investigate, but she gets hit by someone and falls to the ground. She then sees Shiori come out from the middle of the forest and feels glad to see her. But Shiori's hair and body starts to change color, turning red. She then uses her enchanted arrow to hit Hatsune again before walking away. The group later finds Hatsune sitting alone in the forest and crying, and they decide to go and look for Shiori together. Meanwhile, Carol realizes that all the trouble that is being caused must be because of the princess. Pecorine then comes looking for her and tells her to come along to find Shiori when the shadows attack the village. Pecorine then saves a little boy from the shadows and prepares to fight them. Shiori leads the shadows. Meanwhile, Yuki and the girls are approached by Christina. They ask her about what is going on and she laughs before attacking them. She hits Yuki and he falls to the ground, unconscious. He then sees Ameth again, who tells him that Kokoro and the others cannot put up against Christina and will be slaughtered. She then tells him to use his Princess Knight power to fight Christina as he is the only one who can save them, telling him to remember the time when he used it. He then wakes up and his powers activate, making his friends powerful too. They all then attack Christina together, but she manages to resist the attacks and later walks away after telling them that Shiori has been swallowed by a shadow. Meanwhile, Pecorine fights the shadows in the village while Carol watches her from a distance. Suddenly, Pecorine feels hungry and loses strength, and Carol decides to help her. She destroys the shadows with her magic, and Hatsune then comes to Shiori and enters her mind to save her. Shiori then uses her enchanted arrow to attack the shadow that swallowed her, and it leaves her body, later destroyed by Carol. Pecorine and her friends have food by the riverside after a long day of harvesting. Pecorine tells them that most of Landosol's rice are harvested in the village. And Kokoro adds that the princess of Landosol loves rice and so rice crops were raised after her order. And that is why they are called Princess Rice. Pecorine then tells them that the farmers are facing problems with keeping the crops safe from wild animals, and so their next quest will be to help the farmers, after which they will get the reward of Princess Rice. Yuki is enjoying the quests with farming and also prepares a Lady Ameth scarecrow. Carol then remembers the time when she was reporting the princess about Tarum village, and she orders her to observe Yuki along with Pecorine. The scene then shifts to the group looking for a new quest at the guild association. Yuki then picks one in which they are required to teach about working as a guild with a promise of a lot of rewards. Pecorine tells them that this quest is not officially approved and she keeps taking the flyer down, but it gets replaced. Later, they find the three sisters Misogi, Mimi, and Kaiuka outside the guild. Misogi then asks them if they are interested in the teaching quest, and the group agrees to be their masters. The next day, they take the girls for a treasure hunt. They give them a map and tell them to find the treasure as their first quest, and the three little girls leave with Yuki. However, Yuki takes the girls on the wrong route. Pecorine, Kokoro, and Carol try to tell him, but he does not understand. Pecorine then tries to make them change their route by wearing a huge monster costume, but instead of getting scared, the girls fight her. The girls and Yuki keep going further down the unplanned route, encountering many dangerous monsters that are taken down by Pecorine and the two girls. Later, while having lunch, Yuki is carried away by a huge bird and the girls run after it to save him. They get into its nest and try to attack it together, but they are not strong enough. Carol, Pecorine, and Kokoro reach the nest to save the kids and Yuki, but they lose their magic as they are tired and Pecorine is hungry. However, Pecorine gets out of the costume when she sees some food nearby and then strikes the bird after regaining her strength, saving the girls and Yuki. The girls think that they have reached the treasure after Kokoro tells them that the quest is completed, and Pecorine tells them that their treasure is one of the bird's eggs, out which a baby bird hatches and embraces the little girl. Later, Pecorine and the group return to help the farmers while Misogi, Mimi, and Kaiuka play with the baby bird. Kokoro wins a lottery, and the group decides to go to the beach. Kokoro comes to Yuki during the night to ask him if the swimsuit she bought suits her, and he tells her that he likes it. She then shows him the instructional book for swimming that she borrowed from the library, and the two practice swimming in the bedroom. The group goes to the beach the next day and plays in the ocean for some time, and Pecorine takes Carol on a float cruise as she cannot swim. After playing in the water for some time, they come back to the shore to rest when they see Suzume again, being dragged along by her donkey. She then takes them to the beachside snack hut that Saren just started. Kokoro introduces her friends to Saren before ordering at the snack hut. Saren then tells them that there is another snack hut nearby that has stolen all the customers from her snack hut because of their featured menu. Later, the group goes to see this featured menu of the snack hut and see a girl serving taiyaki to the customers. A few moments later, Eniko comes to them, who is the president of Mercurius Foundation, who argues with them about whether taiyaki is a good refreshment at the beach or not. She then asks Saren if she has changed her mind about working with her, but she tells her that she will never work for her snack hut. Eniko then tells her that this will only bring her more loss and she should become her business partner, and Mifuyu says that Eniko is just stubborn and in fact recognizes Saren's talent. However, Eniko later mocks Saren and the group, calling them a bunch of novices. Carol is infuriated by this and tells her friends that the Gourmet Guild has to come up with a featured item for Saren's snack hut. They all then go out to gather ingredients for a featured dish. The group catches a bunch of different sea creatures and then thinks about what dish they can make that can attract more customers to their snack hut. They suddenly hear screams from the beach and go to see what is going on. They then see Tamaki on the shore and she tells them that Yukari has been captured by a large squid called Kraken. Pecorine then stops the Kraken from taking Yukari underwater and Carol uses her magic to bring it to the beach. Saren then uses her Sword of Phoenix to save Yukari. They later serve grilled Kraken to the customers, making it a featured item on Saren's snack hut menu. Saren then partners up with Eniko in business now that she has equal footing as her. Later, Carol uses her magic and gives her friends the power to swim underwater. They dive and explore the sea creatures, enjoying their time together. The group wakes up in their guild house and Pecorine prepares breakfast for them. They discuss their fun vacation at the beach, thanking Kokoro for winning the lottery. Later, Kokoro and Yuki go to the restaurant owner in Landosol to give him some squid sandwiches as a souvenir, while Carol stays at home and Pecorine is shopping in the market. At the restaurant, they see Akaki and Charlie trying to stop the owner from making pudding. Kokoro also, but he doesn't stop. A girl named Shinobu then comes to them, who is a fortune teller, telling them that she came to see the owner after she heard rumors about him making pudding like he is possessed. Suddenly, another girl appears out of thin air, demanding pudding. The girl named Miyako then says that she cursed him to make pudding every night. Shinobu then reveals that Miyako is a real ghost, asking Yuki and Kokoro to accompany them to their guild house, Diabolos. Shinobu later reveals her true intentions of making Yuki resurrect the queen. They are then taken to the basement where Eliha, the Queen of Darkness, is sealed in a large crystal coffin. She then comes out of the coffin and suddenly turns into a child version of herself. Shinobu then tells them about the story of this legendary vampire who is the queen of her demon race and had led them in battle, but lost the battle and was sealed away. Ilian then tells Kokoro that Yuki's power can help her restore her powers. However, when she is attacked by her minions, Yuki saves her and uses his Princess Knight power that makes Ilia return to her original self, but it doesn't last long and she becomes a child again. Kokoro then tells Yuki that they should leave now, but Miyako stops them for spilling her pudding on the ground. Meanwhile, Carol is waiting at home for her friends to return. She hears a knock and goes to open the door, finding Yuki possessed by Miyako. Kokoro then explains to her that she will leave Yuki only if they replace the pudding they ruin. They try to make the pudding but they are not able to make it. Miyako is unhappy and threatens to turn all of them into pudding and eat them. Kokoro then tries to calm her down by telling her that one of the guildmates is a great cook and can make delicious pudding for her if she can wait, but she declines. Later, Pecorine returns home after a long day at work with Ikaki's mother, only to find all her friends turned into pudding. She then offers to make pudding for her if she turns them back to normal. After eating Pecorine's pudding, Miyako feels so happy that she immediately turns her friends back to normal. Pecorine wakes everyone up for breakfast and Carol is late like always. Pecorine goes to wake her up but she doesn't answer, making Pecorine think that she is in trouble and she jumps into her room from the window. Carol gets furious as Pecorine ends up destroying her favorite stuffed animal, and Kokoro tells her that she can fix it. Kokoro leaves with her friends to find the right materials for her toy, while Carol stays at home. They look for it but are unable to find the required material and so they decide to split. While Yuki is looking around the market, sees a man being attacked by a shadow and tries to save him, but the shadow is too strong and pushes him away and tries to swallow him until Shizuru, Yuki's sister, saves him. While she's checking him for injuries, Rino comes to her and drags her away, telling her that they are only supposed to watch from a distance. Kokoro doesn't find the right material after a long time of searching. She then finds a sparkly butterfly and follows it. Meanwhile, Carol decides to report to the princess. On her way, she sees some beautiful white flowers and plucks some for her. In the market, Pecorine, Kokoro, and Yuki are unable to find any material for Carol's animal but decide to keep looking. Carol reaches the castle and finds the princess with her shadows. She puts a mask on one of them, making it more powerful. As the shadow passes by Carol, the flowers she brought for her die. Meanwhile, Kokoro and Yuki are in the market when they are offered some sandwiches by a man. Kokoro then notices Yuki's mouth getting messy and goes to wet her handkerchief, but is stopped by Rino, who interrogates her about her older brother Yuki. Shizuru then calms her down and greets Kokoro. Suddenly, Yuki disappears and the girls split up to look for him, but don't find him. They then decide to post a request for search at the guild association. After a few moments, Yuki comes back with a beautiful rainbow silkworm. Karin then tells them that Yuki wanted some kind of special material and asked me for a quest. Yuki later tells Kokoro that he spotted Eriko while he was eating the hot dog and ran away before finding the quest. Carol feels trapped while walking back home, thinking that she might be doing something wrong. She gets home but finds it empty and feels sad that her friends have not yet returned when Pecorine calls out from a distance, holding her toy all fixed. The bridge between Landosol and the market has been blocked by a monster and so Pecorine picks the quest to defeat the monster so that all the goods could be transported to Landosol. They set out to start the quest and Pecorine makes a brilliant plan to lure the monster away from the bridge so that they don't harm the bridge in the process, making Carol the decoy for distracting the monster away from the bridge. They trap the monster's feet and it tumbles to the ground before Pecorine strikes it with her sword. Later, they go to the guild association and Karin appreciates them for completing the quest and asks them to fill the gourmet guild's activity report. The village people later gather around Pecorine to thank her for taking the monster down. The group later goes to have crepes at Labarista's shop where Shizuru and Rino are now working. Meanwhile, Labarista leaves to check on some important things and finds out that a powerful shadow is lurking around swallowing people. Yuki has some weird nightmares and is restless in his sleep when Ameth meets him, telling him that his deeper memories are also coming back because he has developed a bond with many people, and what he saw can be either his past or future. He wakes up the next morning and tells Pecorine to help him with sword training. Later, they go to the restaurant in Landosol to have some food, where they hear two men talking about the princess. The scene changes to Carol feeding some cats when she decides to go and eat with her friends. Ikaki and Charlie also catch up with her on the way. After a while, a huge shadow appears in the middle of the town and begins to destroy the town and terrify people. Pecorine goes to fight the monster and attacks it, using her power to cut it in half, but it revives and turns into a more powerful monster. Pecorine saves Carol and fights the shadow monster again, destroying it, but it revives itself again. Yuki tries to use his Princess Knight power, but he suddenly faints, and Labarista hides the girls and Yuki in a safe place. The scene shifts to Kokoro walking down a hallway in the castle when she sees a portrait of Pecorine with her parents, realizing that she is a princess. Pecorine finds Kokoro in the Landosol castle and tells her that her real name is Justiania von Istria, and she is the Princess of Landosol. She clarifies that the girl everyone thinks is the princess has the same name, but people have forgotten about the real princess. After traveling around the Istria continent, Justiania gets a lot of experience, but after she returns, everyone, including her parents, have forgotten about who she is because of Kaiser, who has stolen her name. She starts to sob and Kokoro consoles her, promising that she will never leave her, while Carol watches all this from a distance. The scene shifts to Labarista telling Yuki about his power and how it can be useful as well as dangerous. She tells him how the shadows have been wiping out entire villages and eating people's souls, and Yuki realizes that all these memories are actually real. Tomo and Matsuri come to the palace and tell the civilians to move, and Jun also joins them, who is the captain of the palace knights. Inside the palace, Carol fights with the shadow monster and is about to be swallowed by it when Pecorine comes to save her, and the two fight the monster together. Meanwhile, Shizuru informs Labarista that Yuki's friends are in trouble, and she takes Yuki back to the palace. He strikes the monster and his power travels to his friends, making them more powerful, and together they destroy the shadow monster before Labarista takes them out of the palace. All the villagers are happy to see Pecorine and her friends safe and celebrate their return, and the group returns to its normal life as Gourmet Guild. That is all for today. If you enjoyed our video, give us a like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content.